He's doing pretty well. We got nothing better to do. Except worry about our jobs.
We have some teleconferencing set up, and hopefully some of our board members will come on. We'll explain to you what's going on in a minute, but we really appreciate your attending at such short notice. First of all, I'd like to acknowledge the fact that we have with Worship Mayor Doug Martin here, Regional Councillor Teal, we have Councillor Pissarro, we also have our board members. Yeah, we have our board members here. We have Ted Mansell from SEIU, Claude Pilato from the EDC, we have Rick Gorham from the EDC, Ron Tripp, CIO of the town of Fort Erie. On the phone we had Nick Gonzalez, but I think we burned out his cell phone battery, so he's trying to get back on. We have Dean Demetrio, the president of the Fort Erie Chamber of Commerce, Greater Fort Erie Chamber of Commerce. And we have our senior staff here, Chief Operating Officer Rick Cowan, and Chief Financial Officer Tom Valakit, and I'm Jim Tiber. I'm the CEO of the Fort Erie Race Track and Fort Erie Live Racing Consortium. And so the news that we have today that we think is important to everybody who is paying attention to the Fort Erie Race Track and the racing industry in Ontario is that we have met today as the Fort Erie Live Racing Consortia in an emergency meeting to bring the board members and our constituent organizations up to speed on the latest developments and progress towards a 2013 racing season. First and foremost is the news that we have a proposal from our landlord, Nordic Canada, for a rent reduction to $395,000 per year. That is a reduction from our current contract of $650,000, so that is a savings of some $255,000. The second thing that is important is that they have offered us a 2-year renewable contract. We're not certain whether the government is moving in 2-year cycles or 3. I think all of us would like to see 5-year cycles so that the horsemen can actually make some investment in raising the horses. And of course, a 5-year contract would be wonderful so that it showed that the government understood what the investment in raising and racing horses is all about in Ontario. But we will certainly consider a contract with the panel and the government. In our efforts to develop a business case with shared goals with the province to work towards sustainability on an industry-wide basis, the Fort Erie Live Racing Consortium has shared its financials, audited statements, business plan, and financial projections with both the province and our landlords, Nordic Gaming Corporation / LLAD Canada. We've always worked closely with them, and they have offered this 2-year extension commencing April 1st, 2013, with the annual rental payment of $395,000 and the equivalent terms. And of course, the board of directors of the FEORC would present that to the government for approval. The way that racing now works is there's really a whole change to the philosophy of racing days, racing purses, where the dollars from pari-mutuel money goes, where the costs are, and of course all tempered with this transitional funding. So it's up to the panel and the government to make a decision on our business plan and come up with an offer to us, and we think that rather than sitting still, we have a very lean business plan. We believe from our team that we've proven for the last 3 years that we can make it work. And we've presented a very lean picture to the government of Ontario, and now we've reduced that by $255,000, provided they accept that. I would like to point out that rental rates of such a lease to which the private sector would be entitled for 338 acres of land that we lease, and the fact that we have about $60 million worth of replacement value on infrastructure, this doesn't even cover the costs of carrying those. So I want to salute Nordic and Alad for working with us in this and for making that type of offer for a sacrifice in those rents. As far as the status of the 2013 race season, the Fort Erie Live Racing Consortia can advise you that it has yet to be in contact directly with either the Ontario Finance Authority, who's managing this, or with the panel since about Christmas. The FELRC was advised back then when we did meet, and that was reported on by the press, that all of the industry track people met, and they had talked about a triage in terms of doing the work, because there's just so much work that has to be done in a short amount of time, and that the primary goal was to get Woodbine out on the table and get that negotiated. That's been done as of about 2.5 weeks ago, and so we would like to see them moving quickly on to Fort Erie. The FELRC continues to have a major concern. We were advised when we met with the industry, with the Ontario Finance Authority, with the panel, with the government, with the Ontario Lottery Corporation, that there were specifically 5 terms, and clearly we met all. And those conditions included that Fort Erie agreed to be a member of the Alliance of the new modernization and racing, which we did in writing. That Fort Erie agreed to support the principles of the Alliance, including matters related to purse pooling, setting purse limits, negotiations regarding pari-mutuel wagering contributions towards joint marketing and things like that, and we did. In fact, we've been a leader in that one. 3, setting and approval of racing dates, which is happening. 4, submitting a business plan, which we have, and did an exhaustive business plan. And 5, meeting the requirements of a transfer payment recipient for the province of Ontario, which obviously we do. We have received grants in the past. We are fully accountable, fully transparent, and we have all of the people on board. Excuse me, is that you, Nick?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Sorry, please.
No problem. So now we have Nick Gonzalez on board, our Fort Erie world-renowned trainer, member of our board, and vice president of the HBPA, Horsemen's Benevolent Protective Association. I should advise that Sue Leslie, the president, is tied up in Toronto, and she's fully aware of what's going on, but we're trying to do many things at once here in order to get racing going on in Fort Erie. And we are also expecting and hoping that Kim Crater, our member of provincial parliament, will be able to come on. I just talked to him moments ago. I talked to him at 6 o'clock this morning as well. He was on his way to Queen's Park. He was meeting with the Premier Designate, and I have confirmed just a few moments ago with him that in fact he has had extensive conversations with the Premier Designate, Kathleen Wynne, and I would leave that up to him to discuss with the media, or when he comes on, if possible, to talk about what he can. So, in terms of these conditions, we've met them all, but now what we seem to be hearing is that the initiative of the tracks is to bring some revenue to the table, and their excuse on this happens to be the revenue generated by slots. Now, if you recall, when things were announced by the Ontario Lottery Corporation back in March of last year, they had a 2-part plan. The first part of that plan was that Sarnia, Windsor, and Fort Erie were to be disbanded from their slots immediately, and those properties and contracts null and void, although they are paying us through to March 31st. The second part of that plan was that by March 31st of this year, the slots would be gone from all tracks, and all funding and all parts of the revenue on racetracks program, the revenue sharing program, would be discontinued. It doesn't seem to have worked out that way. It seems that there are a number of locations where the communities prefer the slots at the track, or in the case of some places already, that the proponents of particular gaming zones don't want to put them anywhere else, or in the case of, I believe, Kitchener-Waterloo right now, they can't find any place within the region in the gaming zone, so they're trying to expand that gaming zone in order to get some place to put a casino. So those plans don't seem to be working out very well. But the one fact is that with Fort Erie, they discontinued our slots. We were the first to come forward and say, we'll be glad to try to take on the slots and operate them in order to support the track. And then we were prohibited by that. And not only were we prohibited, but we've been completely excluded as a community from any gaming zone of the 29 in Ontario. So it doesn't seem appropriate that we would be held accountable for the lack of revenue from slots when in fact the government themselves took that revenue potential away from us. So we are hoping that this reduction in rent may in fact be some type of placate their concerns over some form of revenue coming to the table. Anyway, that's it, and everybody around the table is quite prepared to answer any questions you have.
Jim, I'm just curious, I mean, why are we here really? I mean, I recognize your announcement on rent, that that's an important piece of the puzzle to make sure that Fort Erie can continue. But it also seems part of your discourse is putting pressure on the province to say, hey, we're still here, we still want our track, and is that why we're here? Is that what this is about?
Well, really, that's an astute observation. Not going to admit it, but it definitely is. Our goal is to advise people that, hey, we're here. It's been a long time. We've been patient. It's our turn to hear from the government one way or the other. And the fact that every day we have horse people calling us from the Carolinas, from Michigan, from other states saying that they had plans to bring horses here and they need to know what's going on. We also have a number of horse people from Fort Erie that are getting pressured for stalls. One thing that we're not certain of is who in government understands the horse racing business. We know that the panel understands it very clearly. They have demonstrated that. They have superior understanding of the horse industry. The government officials that are working on negotiations have told us that they don't. So we're not absolutely certain that they don't understand that the balance of tracks that's left is fundamentally Fort Erie thoroughbred track and all the rest of the quarter horse track, or pardon me, the standardbred tracks. The cost of running a thoroughbred track is very much more money than operating a standardbred track. We have $25 million worth of infrastructure in barns out there. We have a complete backstretch, including offices for officials and a restaurant back there for the backstretch people. We have to operate our training facilities at the track every day in operations because our horses and our horse people practice on our track. That's not generally the case in standardbred. They don't have that level of infrastructure in the back. So it is more costly, and as a result of all that infrastructure, we have a lot more work to do to get ready. So we really have to have some time. Our contract expires on March 31st of this year, and we really need some indication from the government that we can get down in earnest and start negotiating very quickly so that our horsemen have some confidence that we can move forward this year and they can plan not only their careers, but they can plan their lives.
Are you willing to put out an ultimatum? Is there a timeline here? Is there a deadline at which you need to know for there to be a season?
Well, we can't go beyond March 31st, but that would be too far back. I mean, we have obligations under the law to provide notice to the balance of our employees. We have employees that have the option to take severance that have not because they're holding on to the fact that by not accepting severance at the time, that they will be able to get back on in seniority. Ultimately, if we close, they will have severance. We have it there for them. But there are a lot of people that believe Fort Erie should continue and will continue.
How does this leaner proposal that you submitted affect the number of race dates you are seeking?
We have absolutely no idea on the number of race dates. Race dates are all a condition of what they're prepared to approve, what we think can balance out the business plan and the supply of horses. The supply of horses is what we're most critically involved with right now. We have seen examples right across Ontario where the number of horses being sold, bred, reared are down significantly by some 38%. And you know, if the government wants to move ahead, we believe that. They have come up with this modernization program and the panel. And so we really have to move forward a lot quicker and get a complete race season in place ASAP.
But I believe last time we were here, I think the government recommended somewhere around 30, and you said that wouldn't fly. Does your new leaner proposal mean that it could fly at 30 or no?
No, we've talked to them about that. They wanted to leave some dates in there. We've actually applied for 78 race days plus 5 quarter horse days. That's been approved so that we can continue on our pari-mutuel wagering from January 1st. None of us believe that that will be the model because 76 days is probably unsustainable right now with the amount of horses that we expect. So it will be somewhere between 30 and 76. Our proposal, of course, is different. Our proposal follows, I think, more the modernization. We're not so interested in race dates anymore. To us, they're meaningless. What we want is 500 thoroughbred races and 100 quarter horse races, and then we will massage the business plan to take maximum advantage of the number of races we have.
Are you concerned that the change in the Premier's office could mean that they're going to want to push a decision like this back even further?
No, we're actually buoyed by the fact that the Premier designate is doing a couple things. She's talked about the support for the horse racing industry prior to her campaign. She is not only the Premier designate